everyone. We are back with another episode of It's Already in You podcast. We are so excited about our guests today. We are here with Dr. Ariel Edwards and Elise Kyra. Did I say it right?
You did. You nailed it.
Well, I've messed it up many times now that you just said that. And the owners of Fixxed and Sweat Fixx Studios. And we're so excited to meet them, and we're going to have them give us a little bio of themselves.
Yeah, let us know, or let's get started with where you guys got started in just fitness, wellness, movement of the body, even before Sweat Fixx and Fixxed. How did you kind of fall into this field?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Elise. So I was a college basketball player. I went to Bentley, played college basketball, and in the process, I tore both my ACLs. So that was not fun, but it really threw me into the world of like rehab, strength training, figuring out ways to kind of overcome those injuries and get back on the court. And at that point, I started to really fall in love with fitness. I went into corporate accounting, but in the background, I was always like, I want to get into fitness. I want to do my own thing. I want to run my own business, never thinking I'd actually do it. And then I got a text one day about a space. I quit my job. 4 weeks later, opened the first Sweat Fixx and built it around the principles that I love and I believe in, which is like low impact cardio, which was we use the rowers, and then strength training. I feel like females, and we can get into this, me and Janine talk about this all the time, do not strength train enough. And even during like pregnancy and things, which we'll talk about, like strength training is so important.
Yeah.
So in the process of opening these fitness studios, I ended up opening 5 fitness studios. I met Ariel in our Southie location.
And I'm Ariel. Hi. So I am a physical therapist. I finished PT school at Northeastern in 2016. I was like, okay, cool. I'm good. Like, this is going to be my career now. I'm going to love my job because I loved school and I loved like everything that PT is about. And I started working and I was like, wait, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like, there's a lot of red tape around insurance companies. Like, they get to make a lot of the decisions that you do as a PT. So I was kind of jumping from job to job, looking for something that didn't exist. I was just trying to like fill this void. I also love strength training and love, just moving my body. And while I was in the process of looking for my dream job, I started teaching fitness at Sweat Fixx, which is how I met Elise. And as an instructor there, I do this thing called dry needling, which is one of the main foundations that Fixxed was born off of. It's the best. But I went to Elise and I was like, hey, I can do this thing called dry needling. What do you think about me just seeing a few clients here and there after class? It'll keep your clients healthy, help them continue to move. It'll be like a fun side project for me. This is exactly the type of client that I want to work with, someone who likes to move. They want to be in the fitness studio. They want to take care of themselves. So that was where the concept of Fixxed started to come about. I started just seeing a few clients here and there, and we got to essentially just test the concept. And now knowing Elise, like we don't do things small. She doesn't do anything small. So I remember sitting in the back of the gold gym where the Sweat Fixx was, mapping out, okay, what if we actually like make this its own thing eventually? So that's where Fixxed was born. We opened in 2021 and now we've expanded to 2 locations. We have one in Wakefield and in Haverhill. We do bodywork services. It's kind of like our spin on what we think physical therapy should be.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, we launched our pelvic floor PT program too, which has been huge for prenatal, postpartum, pretty much anyone with pelvic floor issues as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Could you, looking back now, see yourselves as business owners? Like when you opened Sweat Fixx, was it more and Fixxed more for the purpose of the movement, providing a space or something that wasn't out there, and then business owners? Or were you like, I want to do both sides? Because it's 2 very different jobs, in my opinion. Like it's the service, it's the movement, it's the dry needling, and then it's running a business and staff, which is always the hardest part.
Yeah, very different job.
But I feel like they're 2 different. How did that translate and come together for you guys?
Yeah, I
Their
feel
partnership is almost magical because of that.
Well, we have very different answers to this question.
I feel like I was going to say, I feel like I could answer for you. We have completely different answers. Because if you know me, like I went to school for business. I like business. I feel like from a young age, this is like not a surprise. I was probably the kid like doing the lemonade stand, like trying to make a profit and like, how can we like upcharge? What can we add? Like I always just saw myself as my own boss. I was always competitive. I was always wanting to be creative. I always thought there's a better way to do this so that I don't have to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And just fitness is what I'm passionate about. So that's why I ended up going into the fitness field. But if I ended up selling Sweat Fixx, selling Fixx, I would probably just go and open another business.
Yeah.
Like I just can't see myself like not being in that creative part. Ariel, I feel like probably has a little bit different answer, and that's why we work, though.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the reason why I think Elise and I, our partnership works is because the whole business owner side of things terrified me. Like I wanted to open my own clinic so that I could do what I love to do and like be able to offer this service that didn't really exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I'm like, can you do this spreadsheet for me, please? I don't know what I'm doing with this spreadsheet. So looking at financials, like actually mapping out what the business plan was really overwhelming. So when we sat down and she actually could take on most of that role in the beginning and I could take on more of the treatment side and client facing side, it just worked so well. And now we have like very clear roles in the business and it works. So
Yeah.
I would give that recommendation to anyone who wants to open a business, but that piece terrifies you. Like you can do it. You just need someone to help you.
Yeah.
And they have their own podcasts.
Yes.
We do. Yeah. It's the Business Muscle podcast. So if you guys are looking for tips on things in your business and things that you can learn, that's a great place to come listen.
Yeah, you guys
Come
have
hang.
great guests.
Yeah.
I've like listened and like all the different types of like entrepreneurs and, you know, definitely the women out there that are doing it with kids and all of that stuff.
And the tips and the encouragement to people that may want to start a business that are scared. And
Yeah.
I love listening to those tips about getting, believing in yourself that you can do it, because you did a lot of research though. Elise, when you were opening, you did a lot of market research. Like I remember hearing you talk about this a lot. You went to a lot of studios. You found out what you liked, what you didn't like.
Yeah, I'm very type A, so I'm a little crazy if you guys couldn't realize that by now. But so when I was working in my accounting job, which was crazy hours, they would have us sometimes sleep over in hotels. We wouldn't go home. And that was like the reg. We would definitely work weekends, but I would find time to get up at like 5 a.m. and go take a class. When I'm building this business plan, like you said, I was going to all these studios, but I would also call studios across the country and be like, hey, can we just talk? Let me pick your brain. What's working? I would look at their Instagram. I was always just like trying to gather information so that if I had the chance, if I got that one opportunity, because sometimes it only comes once, I was ready.
It just gave me the chills
yeah.
when you said that. It's true. Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have Sweat Fixx. You're seeing people, and you're a teacher. You're seeing people work out regularly. What are you seeing in the population of women and men, before we talk about pelvic floor, that would be impactful for going to Fixx? So as someone who is a client who I've been there for dry needling and cupping as a fitness professional, I know that it's so supportive to listen to your body, and when it's talking to you and before it even talks to you, to do things to support movement. But in a population, in a group class setting, how do the two work in synergy? How can they work and benefit each other?
Yeah, I think one of the most common things that we see is people who don't realize the longevity of taking care of yourself now. Like if you start strength training now, it's going to help you continue to move into your 50s, 60s, 70s, beyond, like taking care of your grandchildren, things like that. And it takes putting in the time and effort now to learn how to move your body the right way. Yeah. We have people who are already like afraid to do a lunge or afraid to do a squat because they don't know how to do it correctly. And learning how to strength train and building up strength in the right places can just help you be so functional down the road. So it's really great because when we have someone who has, say, like a restriction from arthritis in their knee, or they have a hip issue that's going to keep them from being able to strength train, we can take a look at it from a physical therapy and athletic training perspective at Fixxed, so that they are able to do those strength training things that will keep them healthy for the long term.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned a lot from just watching Ariel and all the clinicians at Fixxed is when I first opened Sweat Fixx, somebody would come in and they say, I can't lunge, I have knee pain. So what would we do? We just, okay, we're going to modify. You're going to do hydrants, you're going to do something that's not a lunge. Now, I'm not the one that's going to fix it. I send them to Ariel and the team, and they're able to figure out where the pain is actually coming from. Maybe they're not warming up correctly. Maybe if they just add these 3 mini band, 3 sets of 10 before the workout, they're going to be able to do a reverse lunge. And it's small things like that that the team at Fixxed is able to figure out where the injury is coming from. Maybe it's warm-ups. Maybe it's strengthening. Like something that you think is your neck is really coming from your shoulder. And if you just do these warm-ups with your band, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
And so it makes our clients a lot better, regardless if you're doing CrossFit, bar, anything. If you're already modifying, like she said, and you're only in your 20s, 30s, 40s, how are you gonna move when you're in your 70s?
Yeah.
80s? Like
Yeah.
there's just no way. Have you guys read Pete Atia's book on longevity?
Yes. Yeah.
I love how he talks about like the centenarian Olympics, like being able to lift up your suitcase in an airplane, being able to play with your grandkids. If you can't hold a 20-pound kettlebell or something right now, how are you going to pick up your grandkid? How much are they weighing? So stuff like that, I think, so important. And so now I just send them to Ariel, and I'm like, you need to just, it's a lot of education.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't know what they should do for a warm up if they're having knee pain. And it's very simple fixes a lot of the time. It's not like you need intense physical therapy. It's 20-minute appointments a couple times with them, and you're good.
Totally.
I think our listeners too, like this is part of the bigger picture, right? Like let's talk a little bit about prehab, right? Because there are so many people that know, like if they have pain, they need to go. But you must see a lot of people that are trying to do preventative work too before any of that happens, I'm sure, in athletes or pregnancy or so. Speak to that a little bit, because I think, we talk a lot about nutrition and mindfulness and all of the things that we think are part of our circle of wellness and health. And I think prehab is definitely one of those pieces of preventing injuries in the first place, right?
Right. Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of people who find us because they are injured, and people get really nervous when they have pain, and it's something that we can help them through. But then we have a lot of people stay with us and do our membership option, which is continued assisted stretching or continued cupping, so that things don't come back and they can continue to take care of themselves and do the things that they want to do. We have a ton of our clients like running Boston this year or running other marathons, or like you said, going through pregnancy, and you don't have to be in pain to start seeking help or to get evaluated by a physical therapist or an athletic trainer, because a lot of people have imbalances. It's just the world that we live in, right? Like we're on our computers all the time, we're driving all the time, we're sitting, we're on our phones, everything is hunched forward, and everyone has these little imbalances that the sooner we can address them and correct them, the less likely it is that they'll become pain and an issue and a restriction that's keeping you from doing a lot of other things.
Yeah. One thing I loved going in for treatments is the education piece. Once you know, you'll always know. So like we repeat the same things over and over. So the education, like you can do physical things all day long, and unless you understand why you're doing what you're doing, or someone's teaching you a new pattern of movement or whatever it may be, you're just going to keep repeating the same thing. And so when I went to Fixxed, and even knowing what I know, I left every single time with a piece of education on how to approach movement or rehab or whatever a little bit differently. I also think it's interesting. So my husband, he played hockey in college, and he always says like, back in the day, like you never got cross training, or you never got like stretching or full ranges of motion when you were in high school or in like middle school or wherever, when you were learning about the sport. You just played the sport, and then you wind up in college or as a young adult with injuries. And to see kids or younger kids now, high school age, or people who are like competing and stuff, understanding or having opportunities to learn about how to move their body, just not move their body, I think is like so impactful. So part of my story is, for the listeners at home, my son, who is 13, I brought him to Fixxed this summer, and he had like a toe tendonitis, I think it was, something he got from sliding in baseball. And we went in for a handful of sessions, and what I wanted for him was to learn proper ways to move, because he was starting to lunge and he was starting to do things on his sports teams that were a little bit more vigorous. But I'm like, if someone's not teaching him right now, he's going to pick up a bad habit. And for him to go and spend some time with you, I see him now and I'm like, that was so valuable to carve out the time, invest a little bit of money, and now he'll have that forever. And so to have that service, or to have that place that's like a cool place too. It's like cool. You feel like you're not going into a doctor's office. It's just like, he was like totally into it. I think is so awesome to kind of get that to trend a little bit more, especially with like young athletes. I mean, that's we think there's a huge gap in the education for young athletes as far as what they should be doing before playing their sport, or as warm-ups, or as in adjunct to what they're doing in their sport. We definitely treat younger athletes, and we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis into this, like some new programs over the summer. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Maybe you could train some coaches.
Well,
I think that's like a big thing, right? Like a lot of coaches are like your math teacher that used to play soccer, or your dad that was a basketball star in college, but they don't know the
Warm-ups and
the
all
mobility
that stuff.
and the
Right.
importance of, post and all of the things that these athletes should be doing to optimize.
100%. And this, I feel like I learned firsthand because I was like your kids. I played every single sport, never got hurt. And then you go to the next level, and I tore both my ACLs because we never did mobility. We never stretched. They throw you into a weight program, which
Yeah.
I just came out of high school. I never strength trained. And females, like we've talked about this, females are so over quad dominant. They don't work their hamstrings. They don't work the back of the body. So that's why they tear their ACLs. I think it's 3 to 4 times more than males. So we've talked about this with our team, and that's why we do work with youth right now to like educate them, but we're going to 100% be doing a whole summer program because it's so important, because the
so
kids
important.
nowadays play so many more sports than we did.
Yeah.
And they are never breaking, and they're never focusing on even like the eating part.
I was
of
just
it.
going to say that. And I've just read
Yeah.
research, connection, ACL, and certain things that athletes are doing.
So you guys need to get
Yeah.
on that for them. And we'll take the rehab
Yeah,
part
like the
because
physical piece.
Yeah, because it's so
We
important.
can collab on that.
They're doing so much.
Yeah.
They're doing 10 times more than I feel like they used to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then that's why injuries are going up. So we've been seeing an influx of youth coming in, and we're like, this isn't on accident, because
Yeah.
they're getting pushed more and they don't know what they're doing. And like you said, the coaches are just running them through drills, and there's no warm ups, no cool downs, anything like that.
Yeah.
I know some of these athletes are like, I swim 7 days a week. I'm like, 7 days a
Yeah.
week? Take one rest day. This is crazy.
Right. Yeah.
No wonder you're getting injured.
Sports
Yeah.
aren't just a season anymore. Even if you're playing a variety of sports and you're playing all year long, that variety, I think, helps at least get you a little bit of range of motion. Like if you go from basketball to baseball, like which can support the body. But if you're just playing like hockey all year round or basketball, you're just moving in that same pattern, that I think it's like even more important. I know this year with my older son, they started adding in like conditioning into their summers, and there's like conditioning camps, and they go to, and we showed up to one, and like I'm like doing what I do. Like I was nervous because I was like wanting to go in and talk to all the people, and I walk in and it's there was a vibe in there. There was music playing. There was a bunch of college kids running this, but I'm just seeing like 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds like jumping off boxes and doing all this stuff, which has a purpose. But like I asked Mason, I was like, did they like teach you how to jump off the box? Which is eventually what led him to the toe, to then not being able to walk on it. My point being, like, those places are great, but like to have that like front, that first thing, that first step, let's break this down for you and then rev it up. I think that's a huge mess that you guys obviously already are on.
Yeah, I'm working with a young high school athlete who tore her ACL, and she came in. It was awesome because since we don't go through insurance, we could just decide like, okay, your surgery is in October. This was last year. We're going to do this many sessions before your surgery, get you strong, teach you some of the things that you're going to be able to use after surgery that's going to make you be able to come back so quick. And this is the fastest rehab I've ever seen anyone go through for ACL rehab. Like she was ready to run weeks before her protocol said that she should be able to, because we did all the work beforehand. And it was huge. It's like, it's so nice to be able to work with patients like that and not have insurance telling you, okay, you can only come in for this many visits and this is what you need to do. So we were able to make those decisions, and she's doing awesome now.
Yeah, we see that a lot. We have athletes come in to train for strength and conditioning when they're like preseason or postseason, but they've had injuries and they only got like 6 sessions with their PT, and they shouldn't be cleared to come back.
Right.
And then I'm on the phone with physical therapists saying, can we get them a few more? Do we need, so the concept is so great. Is it HSA?
Some clients do get their sessions reimbursed, through HSA or FSA. Actually, some do get their sessions reimbursed afterwards just through their insurance too. We're just considered an out-of-network provider, but for our physical therapy patients, we do provide them with it's called a super bill. So if you do have an insurance company that lets you go, out of your network, then you can get at least some portion reimbursed, which is awesome too.
That is great.
That's great.
So we definitely want to get into women's health because I think that is a huge topic, and we know that you are doing a lot around that. So pelvic floor is one of the things I know that you're tell us a little bit about that?
So we do pelvic floor physical therapy. So we treat patients with lots of different conditions. That pelvic floor is kind of like this black box of things that sometimes people don't really know what it is, but we treat a lot of women with urinary incontinence. So think like leaking with coughing, sneezing, running, jumping. Yes, I know it's a huge problem.
It is.
And I'm sure you guys see this at the fitness studios too, but those issues we see women for like during pregnancy to help prevent some of those issues, or if they have lower back pain or hip pain or SI joint pain, it's kind of just reframe the way that I look at the whole lower back, because there's all of these muscles and ligaments in your pelvic floor that control the stability in your pelvis, but also your bowel and bladder function too. So it's really important to look at those things. We see a lot of postpartum women too who have ab separation, like diastasis recti, that could be going on for months to years, and it's never too late to start doing some of these things. Women who are post C-section, because I think doctors they're very hesitant to, for some reason, prescribe PT. It should be prescribed to everyone after this major abdominal surgery. Like everyone should get
It was
rehab.
a man's disease.
Yes,
or
right.
a man's issue. I should say.
Even like in other countries, everyone sees PT after they have a baby, which is a whole other issue. But so it can be really helpful for some of those things too, and just get you back to moving faster than what you would be able to do before, when you're expected to then take care of a baby and your body's not where it needs to be yet.
Yeah. So at Sweat Fixx, do you kind of the same thing you said about the person with the knee pain? Do you see people postpartum, prenatal, and are able to like usher them to this program that you guys, I mean, I know you're doing
the Mama and Me
classes.
Yeah, I love the Mommy and Me. But yeah, definitely, especially so I've had 2 babies, and I've gone through it with Ariel, and I've seen the huge benefits. So I'm the type of person that has lifted literally until delivery. I've done lunges in the hospital room waiting to deliver. And I know everybody's not that extreme, but we've seen how huge it is for you to strength train throughout. So Sweat Fixx is basically all the things I believe in, that's one of the main things. So I do think a lot of pregnant people do come to us because I've gone through it with Ariel. We have our pelvic floor PTs right next door that if I ever see anything, we immediately send them and they do a consult with Ariel.
Yeah.
Also, she's trained me in a lot of the exercises and all the breath work and all the pelvic floor work. So that's why I'm able to do the Mommy and Me classes. But it's so important. This is something that like we've talked about that kind of drives me crazy, is that people, I feel like, they don't shame you, but it's almost like you're pregnant. Like, don't do too much. Don't do this. And like, don't let other people's like expectations for themselves put you in a box.
Yeah.
Like, just because you don't want to work out or you don't want to eat healthy during pregnancy doesn't mean that I don't have to. And I feel like we need to empower women to like, you can go and look great after having a baby and feel great the whole time and actually enjoy it. Yeah. And a lot of that is by doing the work, eating right, seeing a pelvic floor PT, or lifting correctly. There's small things that you can do, and that's like what we're super passionate about. And now I've seen a ton more, just in the last couple of years, a ton more pregnant people in our classes for 9 months, feeling great. There's no lower back pain. Their recovery, their comeback is so quick. You probably see them at Philly. They come back and you're like, wow, you look like nothing ever happened.
Yep. Yeah.
I think just because other people can't like envision, having a smooth pregnancy and feeling good, like don't let that like come into your mind. Like a lot of the times I feel like it does make people nervous. No.
Yeah.
As long as you're cleared, as long as you've been doing it, you're doing it correctly, it's so beneficial.
Yeah. And you're having people there to support you and give you education, especially if you don't know and you go into a group fitness class or something. It can be like, I'm a little nervous to move my body because I am pregnant, or I don't want to hurt something. And so to have a space where you have trainers and people that can be like, okay, this is this exercise, but you are expecting, so make these small changes and you still can feel strong and functional. I think a lot of it is changing the mindset. So I know like when I, had my boys, like I felt the same way, especially being a fitness teacher and being in front of a class. I felt so like awesome in my body, and people would be like slowed, like sometimes older clients would be like, when are you going to stop? And I'm like, why would I stop? But I kept being like, I'm not sick, I'm not injured, my body is made to do this. So my job is to support my body in this new way. And I think on the flip side, and I'm curious if you guys see this, that especially if you are connected to your body in movement and exercise, and even the vanity aspect of it is important to you, how people, I know, like look down after you have a baby and you're like, shit, like I need to like get to work. And I think sometimes people might be like, that means harder, better, faster after the 6-week clear, and let me get to the crunches and get to that. How do you communicate to your clients like that necessarily isn't the best? Like, you can obviously move your body, but
Right, the recovery and the healing of
Yeah.
post-pregnancy. And how that's
I mean, there's
important.
there's so much misinformation out there for like strength training during and exercise during pregnancy in general. It's like, you can't tell a woman who was doing CrossFit and lifting 200 pounds before that now she can't lift over 20 pounds. Like, just because she's pregnant now, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be a gradual decline. Like, I'll slowly start deloading as your pregnancy progresses, and you get bigger and your ligaments get more relaxed.
Totally.
But I think it's really important to, just encourage women to still move. And also that you don't have to immediately, like, when you have a baby, it's not like, okay, there's this magical 6-week window afterwards where your body's like, oh, I'm good again. Like, I can go back to running and doing all these things. It's like your body has gone through this massive change over the last 9 months. We should also gradually start to introduce load again. You had a ton of stretch through your abdominals and through your pelvic floor that continued for those 9 months, and now is just gone, like there's no more stretch there. So getting your body back, or like getting yourself to be able to connect to your core again, looks different for everyone, and it's so individualized. Some people immediately can feel their abs again. Some people, especially if they had a C-section or they had complications during delivery, it can look a lot different than that. So getting someone's eyes on your specific condition and what your body is able to do is so important. And I don't really believe in that like magic 6-week window. Like, obviously, if you had blood pressure issues or like medical things to consider, check in with your doctor and make sure that you get clearance before you start like vigorous exercise. But there's so many things that we can do in between, even after like 2 or 3 weeks of just like, let's start doing some breath work. Let's start just trying to reconnect to those core muscles, because you're also going to be lifting a baby at home. You're going to be moving and doing things in your day-to-day life. It's not like you're just going to be stagnant for those 6 weeks.
I think the pre and postnatal too is very similar to a lot of healthcare. Like, I don't want to say issues, but just that gray area of, you have OBs that are reading off of the guidelines for every single person. Like, there's no bio-individuality speaking to an individual that has been doing CrossFit, has been lifting, or has been running their whole life, and now you're going to tell them you can't do that anymore. It's like, people will come in and say, oh, my doctor said I can't get my heart rate above 120 or whatever. And I'm like, huh? Well, you've been working out for the past 10 years. What do you mean? Like, no, that's not the way it goes. But I can also see, like, I had my kids 18, 20 years ago, and I worked out through my whole pregnancy. It was pretty much like training for a marathon the month that I was about to go into labor at the end of my training. And, you see it so much that the doctor, you have conservative OBs and then you have not so conservative OBs. But I think that like the specialty needs to be brought to light. Like, people need to know, find the person that is a pelvic floor specialist, or find the clinician that has worked with the pre and postnatal client, and they can give you a little bit more insight specifically to that, rather than just listening to the overview, you know what I mean? The average person.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
I think one of the big problems too is that they don't have a ton of time to spend with you. Like, I'm going through this process now. I'm almost 34 weeks pregnant, so I see my doctor every 2 weeks.
You're telling them the way it is.
Yeah, right. Like, they've never asked me about my activity level. Yeah. They've never asked me about any pelvic floor symptoms.
I showed my OB how to check for a diastasis.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And he was like, wow, do that again?
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
That is mind-blowing.
They're just like, you feel good? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah, and
there was
they
no
don't
checks.
get that test for diastasis afterwards. They don't check them for prolapse. Like, a lot of times we're doing that, and we have the luxury of spending an hour with someone and actually understanding their whole health history, which is just another problem with the healthcare system, that I'm in there for 5 minutes sometimes at my OB for some of these follow-ups. Like at 33 weeks, they're like, okay, blood pressure, weight, we're going to measure from your belly button to your pelvic bone. I'm like, okay, great. Like, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a good point though, Janine. Like, I think a lot of people will just, okay, I can't do this, or I'll just go to my fitness class, and maybe they don't have any background, which I don't blame them. Like, this is a very specific thing. Not everybody knows like pelvic floor or all that stuff, but there's ways to like work around it. So even if maybe pelvic floor PT is not in your budget, I feel like just even doing like an initial consult and then finding a studio or finding a trainer or finding somebody who will at least buy in and let you do the workouts where you're matching your breath and focusing on your pelvic floor and doing it within your budget. There's ways to do it within your budget no matter who you are, I feel like. But at least the initial consult, talking to somebody who is in that field, getting the foundation, just like your son, getting the foundation to how to move and how to do box jumps, and then going and, you can do your fitness class and stuff is so important.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys have? So for the person who has the money to invest in like regular sessions or wants to learn from the beginning and kind of do some things on their own, what type of services do you have? Do you have like virtual? Do you have like group program? I mean, group would probably be hard with like physical therapy.
Yeah, we do a lot
therapy.
of workshops.
Okay.
So if it's something where you just want to learn and like gather the information and see if you even fit into something, or if you're someone who needs pelvic floor physical therapy, we pop up like in lots of local fitness studios, but we also have virtual pelvic floor workshops on our Instagram, which is at Fixxed Studios, 2 X's in Fixxed. But you can go there and definitely learn more. You can also just hop on a phone call with our pelvic floor PTA. Her name's Christina. She's amazing. She's such a wealth of knowledge, but she'll just talk to you on the phone, talk through your symptoms, talk through what you have going on, see if you're a good fit for our program. And then we have our one-on-one sessions. So we do in person, we also do virtual. Everything's 1 hour so that you really get a full understanding of your background and see how you move, see what's going on, assess. We can do lots of things based on like your hips and your lower back. We also have the option to do an internal exam, which just tells us more information about the pelvic floor, which not everyone opts to do that. It can just give us more information. So don't let that be the reason that it scares you away from doing pelvic floor PT. But it is something good to know, I think, because when you saw pelvic floor PT for the first time, you were like, did you know that this is what they do?
Yeah.
It's like, I did know that, but not everyone realizes that. But it is good to just gather all the information, and then we can, branch off into whether it's one-on-one PT from there, whether you just need some of the bodywork services that we do, like dry needling and cupping, or whether you're ready to go right over to strength training and go over to Sweat Fixx.
Yeah. And I'm sure for a lot of people, it's a little bit of everything. The body work, the education, eventually progressing into like taking full weight loads and all of that type of stuff and working out with no issue or peeing of the pants or anything.
I know.
Like
it's really awesome to have the partnership, because once a lot of our women graduate from PT, they want to start strength training, but they're intimidated. They don't know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So especially like the Mommy and Me class is awesome because it's not intimidating at all. Like there's people of all different levels in there. You can bring your baby. It's, the instructor is super knowledgeable about what's going on. So it's a good place to start strength training when you haven't done it in a while too.
I love teaching a Mommy and Me. Like teaching a Mommy and Me class prior to having kids and after is like, I feel like 2 different experiences. Like once you have kids and like I can remember teaching it and like kids would be crying and I'd be sweating and I would not want the kid to cry, and the mom would be doing her thing and I'd be like, do I stop teaching? And then once I had kids and I would teach those classes, I'm like, take your boob out, like do whatever you need to do to feel comfortable. Like the kids cry, you don't skip a beat. It's a safe place. If you're getting out of the house for, especially like in the first like chunk of day or chunk of time when you're home and maybe you're not working or leaving a lot, I'm like, you're here. It's a really cool feeling to be able to offer that to women, especially in a group, and see them talk to each other and like,
That's the first thing I say to them when they come in. I'm like, this is a judgment-free zone. Just by getting here, like, you already won. Like your day, you got your gold star for the day. Because sometimes just getting out of the house, getting all the bags, bringing the baby to one chair, like that's hard enough.
Yeah.
So once they're there, we always let them come a half hour early so they can feed their baby if they want to and have it just get ready. Like, sometimes it just takes a couple minutes to like get yourself ready. I've taught the class. I've been feeding their babies. Literally I'm walking around, I'm holding babies, giving bottles, putting binkies in. Yeah. We have somebody that helps us, Danielle. She's our manager. So she's like another extra set of hands, because sometimes it is stressful. You're like, my baby's crying, I'm bothering people.
Yeah.
If you're a mom, you know that as long as it's not your baby, like nobody else's baby's bothering you. You're like, hey, that is not my baby. I don't care. But when it's your baby, you're like, oh no, I'm bothering people. But no, as long as it's not yours, you're like, you're good to go.
Especially first time moms. I think there's a new level of like stress that they've never
100%.
experienced. Like once you have the one, like you're just like,
I know. I'm interested to see the change in you once you have, like, to me, that's always been fascinating. Like being in the healthcare wellness industry and like, before you experience the things, like for me right now, it's like perimenopause and menopause. Like before that, where my sympathies were, my like, you know, just the I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
You probably understood like the science of
Yeah.
it or the like what was
Yeah,
happening.
you
but
understood
to, like,
that piece, but
physically.
to feel what somebody is feeling and going through, and that even mentally or physically, whatever it is, like you, when you're teaching these classes now and you have 2 kids, like it feel different than when you had one. It feels different than when you didn't have any.
100%. Yeah, it's so different. It just gives you a whole new perspective on things. And you're just like, it's a whole new level of like, have grace with yourself.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah.
you don't need to jump right back in just from moving, whether you're doing strength training, yoga, bar, Pilates, whatever. Just moving, it's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just starting. And then as long as you're doing it correctly and you're with people that are educated in it, especially at the beginning, then I don't think there's any wrong movement. I think no movement is worse than like,
Yeah.
you know, waiting to find the perfect movement at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Yeah,
There's
even just
actually
going
studies
through-
now that you can like get up and do 10 squats.
I saw that. I
Right?
just texted that to somebody today.
Right?
I have a client that was like, sorry, like my whole family has the flu. I have a walking pad. I'm like, just do 10 squats an hour. They say that's way better
Yes.
than walking. That's so funny you just brought that up. Yeah.
I love that study. I'm like, because so often I'm like sitting there getting ready for something, doing admin work, and you're like, next thing you know, it's like 4 hours later. So now I've been like setting a timer, and I get up every hour and I like do 10 squats.
Yeah.
I'm doing so much more for my mitochondria.
Just like break it up into small pieces.
Right.
Movement snacks. I've heard it called that too.
Yeah, I like that.
So at Fixxed, I'm curious, what is the most popular service you have? I want the listeners to learn a little bit more. I feel like I know what you'll say, but what is the most popular?
It's definitely dry needling.
So
Yeah.
talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Because I know the first time I went in, I was intimidated to do it. I mean, I have tattoos all over and needles don't scare me, but there was like a little bit of like nerves of like, is this going to like hurt?
Right.
And everybody is obviously different, but afterwards, it was like not the greatest feeling at first, but then it settled in. But I'm telling you, like in my traps, my husband came in for his knee. He was complaining about his knee for like months. He went in only one time and his knee's been completely fine. I'm not sure if that was just like the perfect combination, but it was like magic.
Yeah,
So
no, it's I mean, no, we're obsessed with dry needling.
Talk to us about your magic.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of like the concept that the business was built off of too. So we put a lot of our marketing efforts into dry needling, which is a reason why we want it to be so popular is because it's so helpful. So essentially it's a different technique than acupuncture. It uses the same needle, but you're always getting evaluated by a PT or an AT. So it's like, okay, let's find where the muscle imbalances are. We use this acupuncture needle to go into the muscle and it creates like a spasm in the muscle. When your muscles have been overworked for a long time, they get stuck in this chronic overfiring pattern. So if you've ever had like that knot in your trap that won't go away and it's been weeks and weeks, the needle goes into the muscle, it gets it to contract and actually like lets the muscle know it's safe and okay to relax all the way. So yeah, it is a little bit uncomfortable because it's a needle, but it's super thin.
Yeah.
It's not like getting an injection or getting Botox, things like that. It's super thin. You just feel that cramp in the muscle. We use something called stim too. It's just e-stim. It stimulates the muscle, gets the muscle to contract a few times. It just feels like someone's tapping on the needle. And then once that comes off, the muscle can actually fully relax. So it's a little bit sore afterwards, but it's a different kind of pain than what you came in with. It's not that like same pain of the muscle being so guarded. It's just that we released it all at once. Like sometimes you get sore after even just a massage or like deep tissue work, you know? It's like that, but a little bit more intense because we have direct access to the muscle so we can actually release it with the needle.
Yeah, and the best way a client described it was like, it's a deep tissue massage in 5 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
That's literally what it is. And we get questions all the time about like what body parts you can use. And that's probably like our most common thing is we get DMs all the time. Like, my back hurts. Can I use it on my back? I have plantar fasciitis. Can I use it on that? And like, you can speak to almost, there's so many areas that you can do it on. It's not just back. It's not just knees.
Yeah. The most common areas that we treat are neck pain or like neck and shoulder pain. People who get tingling in their hands. We treat a lot of stuff in the jaw too, like TMJ because we're all grinding our teeth.
Yeah.
Lower back pain, like sciatica, disc issues, those types of things. Also hip impingement, knee pain, runner's knee, IT band syndrome, plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, all of those things it can be really helpful for. And it just speeds up your recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. Do people usually do it in conjunction with like physical therapy or just like on their own? Like, is it like when someone comes in and they're like, I want to book a PT or a personal training session or something along those lines, do you say, okay, we'll give you cupping or we'll give you dry needling with that because this is the best kind of.
Yeah. We have like 2 different buckets of people. It depends on their history and their goals, essentially.
Okay.
It's like we can see them for an hour in physical therapy, use all those bodywork services, dry needling, cupping, Graston, which is like the weighted tool that does soft tissue release, in conjunction with rehab exercises. So maybe someone has had an issue going on for a while, or they don't know how to move in a great way, or it's been something that's, been chronic and they're having a hard time getting it to go away with just some of the other bodywork services. We would see them for PT because then we can walk them through all the rehab exercises, make sure they're set up with their home program as well. But we do see a lot of people for just the bodywork, and we're never just saying, okay, I'm going to dry needle you. Good luck after this. Like you mentioned before, that education piece, we're always educating our clients. So it's a shorter service. It's 20 minutes. We reevaluate, we see what's been going on. We do our manual work, whether that's dry needling or cupping, and then we educate them on things to do at home.
Yeah.
So that can be really helpful too. Like, say you already know how to move your body really well. You're someone who just needs the manual work, and okay, I'm going to do these things at home, and this is going to be the combination that gets this better.
Yeah. Every time I've been in there, I feel like everybody that comes in is like a regular. Like, there's like a lot of people that like are like, I'm back after 4 weeks, or that your staff is like asking them how they've been. It seems like it's very like people respond well and then continue because the benefits, I'm assuming, allow them to do whatever it is that they want to do, whether it's a sport or just live without pain or whatever it might be. But I always feel like when I go in, it's like so like chatty and everybody's like just happy to be there, which is like often you don't see that in like a doctor's office.
You
Right.
feel
Or
like that's
the
another
places.
community.
Yeah,
It's
that's what we
definitely community.
wanted.
Yeah,
Right.
and we like our whole thing was like most people don't realize how good their body's designed to feel. So once you come into
Say that
Fixxed,
again.
most people,
Louder.
Yeah, for the people in the back,
Yeah.
most people do not know how well their body's designed to feel. So they've been living with this pain or whatever it is for so long. They've been modifying every fitness class they go to, whatever they're doing, not lifting certain things. And then they come into us and they're like, oh my God, this is actually how I was supposed to feel. And then they stay with us because they're getting educated. They love the maintenance program like that we offer. And that's why you said like our retention is extremely high.
Yeah.
Like anybody that comes in the door, 80% of the people buy a pack and follow up that same day because of the level of quality they're getting, and because they're like, wow, I could actually feel this good by paying just a little bit more than what my copay is.
Yeah.
And to see the person that
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
it's like a game changer. And so it is like a community. It's like a family. Whenever somebody has a new race or a new CrossFit event or literally just tweak their back, picking up their toothbrush, they come back to Fixxed because
Yes.
they realize I don't need to live like this.
Right. And I've worked in many different stale PT clinics, and I was like, this is my nightmare. I don't want to ever do this again. Like, it's so dry. It's so boring. We want it to be fun. We want clients to be involved with their care and like actually getting towards their goals. And we're always joking around with people, and we become really connected with them. Like they're our Fixxed family. Like we know when their wedding is, and they're having
racing
babies,
and you're following them on the app or whatever.
Yeah. We love that piece. It's like, it helps us just build that community, and people love being part of it. So
That's awesome.
And
So-
knowing you guys, we know there's got to be some exciting
I was gonna
stuff
say,
coming
like,
up.
give us some tea on things you guys are working on.
yeah. So
If you want.
Yeah. I mean, we
we want the stuff no one knows.
Yeah. Well, first we can, we'll share that we're working on just trying to expand Fixxed. We just want there to be accessibility for this type of care in as many places as possible because we want people to continue to feel good. We want to spread the mission. We want physical therapists and athletic trainers to have a career that they actually really enjoy as well. So we are franchising Fixxed. So if you know a physical therapist who's interested in opening their own location, definitely have them come chat with us, because being the owner of a Fixxed has like completely changed my career. It's such a fun job. Like I look at my schedule and I'm like, oh my God, I love everyone who's coming in today, which isn't like you get those people that you dread seeing, as a PT in another setting. So yeah, that's kind of like the big project that we're working on right now.
Is there similar things? I mean, I've never seen in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, kind of where I am from or around. I haven't seen similar things. Is there Fixxed like studios? Is this very like new
Yeah,
kind
very
of
new, especially
thought.
with what we do with dry needling.
Okay.
Like you'll see lots of stretch type places,
Yes.
which we do assisted stretching as well. But in those types of places, you don't really know who you're seeing. You could be seeing a college kid or,
I
you
had
know.
a client. I mean, anything can happen, so I'm not. But like, went to one of those studios 2 weeks ago, and she literally hasn't been able to walk because she was like literally just put my leg
Yeah.
over my head and like tore my hamstring.
Right. They're not getting evaluated to see if,
Yes.
do you even need stretching? Because a lot of people are already hypermobile and stretching could make things worse.
She's like, I lied on that table, and I was like, this isn't going to go. Like, I immediately was like, this person, I just have a bad feeling. And she's like, I walked out of there like limping. And I'm sure that happens, like, not all the places, but definitely like, and like you said, to give people the opportunity to have careers in this field, like whether it's personal training or whatever, like it's hard to build a true career because like either you're not getting paid very much or you don't have enough to fill the day. Like you have 2 clients and then you have to wait. So to be able to have a space where you can offer people with this like passion, like a job that they can like create a life around is, I feel like kind of unheard of too.
Yeah, we have a lot of athletic trainers who, like for ATs, their hours are after school because they work in high school or in college and weekends. And like that can be a grind too when you're trying to have a family and like have some balance in your life. So it's a great place where they can actually use all the skills that they have. But it's a little bit more like a PT clinic where it's like regular hours. They know their schedule every week. That part is really exciting to us too.
Yeah.
Can an AT start a fixed or do they have to be a PT?
So right now we want to be able to offer physical therapy in current locations, but we're open to it. We'll always think about the conversation and just see what that looks like because.
But I think my question more legally, like, do you have to be, I know now to practice physical therapy, you have to be a doctor. If you wanted to buy a Fixxed franchise, do you have to be a doctor of PT?
So the thing with athletic trainers in the state of Massachusetts, which is different everywhere, is that they have to be overseen by a physician. So we have a partnership with a physician at Fixxed. So yes, they could own and be, as long as they were overseen
Like having a medical director.
Exactly. Which that's one of the laws that probably will change at some point. It's one of these things where the reasons don't really make sense anymore based on the degrees that they have and the education that they have and the skills that they bring to the table. But that's like the one piece that would have to be squared away versus for an AT versus a PT.
Okay.
Yeah. And back to your question when you were like, is this like other places have this type of thing?
Yeah.
When we went through the franchise process, our lawyer had to go and look because she wanted to like see, who our competition was. And she's like, we can't find anybody that's doing exactly what you're doing. And when we started this, that was our whole point. We wanted to disrupt the industry.
Yeah.
We wanted to give people the care that they deserve. And if you go to like a Stretch Labs, like you said, ask them what their background is. A lot of it's college students, and I'm not knocking them, but they are not qualified to assess an injury you have and treat. And that's why we've been getting so many more members because we actually have clinicians that's what they do is they assess, they give you the stretches and stuff that you actually need. So we created that with the physical therapy background, which has never been done before, like the manual therapy in a fun, community-driven fitness studio type setting where you can book like a fitness class.
Yeah.
And at first, people were not thrilled, other PT clinics in the area, because we came in and we said, we're just going to disrupt the industry like we like to do, and we are here. And so that's why I think it does do well, because the quality of care is great, and it's easier for people.
Yeah.
Like, it's better for you guys. It's better for clients that... This model was built around me, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm the ideal client. I work out a lot. I hurt my back, and I'm like, I just want to go in and get fixed that day. Let's make a business that does that. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Is that how you came up with the name? You were like, I just need to get fixed today.
It really worked out. The name.
But that's why we honestly love it. And that's why we're looking for the right partner. We're looking for somebody that is hungry like we are and wants a business partner to back them and catapult this to the next level. Anybody can open their own business.
Look how this fires up, Elise.
Anybody can open their own business, right? You can go open a cash-based clinic, but you are going to pay thousands of dollars setting up your website, your payment processing. Good luck with automations, like literally everything. You can do it 100%. That's why we have the podcast. We're here to enable you to do it. But you could also partner with somebody who has done it and proven that it's going to work, and somebody that's as passionate as we are, and we're going to catapult this thing. Like, we want to blow it out of the water.
Yeah.
So anybody can do it. But the person
We've
that we're
already done the
looking-
work.
Proven
Yeah.
success. Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's cheaper, right? They're like, I'll just do it my own. When you actually go to do it by yourself and you realize all those fees add up.
And time.
Time, fees, legal fees, messing up and having to redo it over and spending thousands of dollars resetting up your system, stuff adds up.
Yeah.
So there is a franchise fee, but you're getting years of experience and you're getting something that's turnkey with people that are backing you and want to kill this thing and clearly get really passionate about talking about it, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Which is so much value in itself is
Yeah.
that like experience and that like proven track record.
I can't believe how long you guys have been open now. Like I remember you just talking about this.
Yeah, we had you come in for our soft opening.
Yes.
We had a bunch of owners come in that we like love in
It
the
was
industry
crazy.
that people respect, and we were like, come in and try this and tell us what you think. And you were one of the first people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had your mask on. It was during COVID.
Oh, I know.
You know, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of trial and error over the last 4 years, but now we know exactly what works. So the next person coming in is going to be in really good hands because we want the next one to be just as successful as the first two. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. We're excited for you.
That's awesome. I'm like, now I want to go and just get cupped or something today because I'm like,
I was just
it's
thinking.
such a great place. I'm so excited for you guys to continue to grow. And can people like do this outside of Massachusetts? Can it be anywhere? Yeah, if you have the
Depending on
right
the state.
person.
Depending on the state.
Some states are tough with dry needling,
Right.
but
Okay.
that's a whole other thing.
A
But
whole
most
nother
states
thing.
you can.
Okay. We will make sure to obviously link everything below for the person who wants to come in for a pelvic floor or go to Sweat Fixx for a class, or if you guys at home have any interest in learning more about the franchising. But if you haven't been, honestly, you have to go because it is such a great, like you walk through the door and you're just like, yep, this is where I belong to be today. This is something good that I'm doing for myself. And you don't even need to be in pain or have anything wrong. It's just like a good for you thing that you guys have created. So it's awesome to see it grow.
we appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thanks
of
for
course.
having us.
So we
Thanks
will
for
link
coming on.
everything below for you guys at home to learn more, ask questions, reach out to them. And thank you for listening.